and we're recording on our end, and you'll have about 15 minutes. Thank you.
That's great.
Oh, hey there.
Hello, Tom. How are you, Mr.? I really can't believe I'm talking to you. It's a great pleasure. I can call you an honorary Aussie, actually. You've been in a lot of Aussie productions, including Troppo recently.
That's right.
Thin
Shot
Red
that up
Line.
in Brisbane.
The Thin Red Line, of course, was
That's right.
another one.
Solomon Islands, I was at there.
Yeah, and like an Aussie director on this movie.
That's
Richard
right.
Gray.
You're right. There's a lot of Australian connections going on lately. I had a blast up in Brisbane when we shot Troppo. Really good crew, really good people. Loved the experience and plan on going back for season 2 of Troppo. It's done well. I know it did well in Australia. It's doing very well here in America too. So
yes. Can you do the Aussie accent though? Because you've got such a deep voice, American accent.
Yeah, don't count on it, pal.
Okay.
Australians are tough to. That takes a little bit of homework to get that one down.
You've been in the industry for so long, Mr. Jane. Do you still have to audition? Do you have to do self tapes and audition, or do you get offered more roles these days?
Well, these days I've got scripts being sent to me, and been lucky enough to be able to pick the ones that I feel interested enough in leaving my home to go do them. So Yellowstone City is certainly one of those. I started a production company in 2019 called Renegade.
Okay.
With my partner, Courtney Penn, we started immediately looking around for Westerns and ended up doing 2. One in Montana, at the Marlboro Ranch called The Last Sun. And then this one came along, which we also shot in Montana. We shot it at Yellowstone City, where they built the town specifically to shoot the movie. So it's a brand, if fans of Westerns know, most of the towns get recycled. This one's an all new town for Western fans to look at it. They did a great job with it.
Being part of a production based in the old American West, does that bring history? Do you really value that, the American history side of things being in a Western?
American myth of the American West. That is a uniquely American invention. The Western, jazz, and baseball. Maybe comic books too. These are American, homegrown, unique entertainments and art forms. So the Western does mean something, but not specifically American. I think the Western speaks a lot to the Australians as well, because there's a lot of commonality between the West and Australia, and the history there, and what it took to carve out civilization out of a hard scrabble world, and the challenges tended to create a hardy breed of person, right?
True.
But really, you're talking about the conflict between individual freedom and the rules of society or the town, right? So you've got the outsider who comes into a strange town where he's shunned by the town, but the town is, it's either one of two things. It's either morally decent human beings live in the town, but they're weak, incapable of defending themselves from villainous outsiders, or they're a strong town, but they're inherently bad. There's a corrupt sheriff, which happens to be the story of Yellowstone City. There's a corrupt sheriff played by Gabriel Byrne. We've got an outsider who comes into town. He's accused of something that he didn't do. The town tries to persecute him. He finds an unlikely ally in my character, the preacher, Thaddeus.
Yeah, well, in any good Western, there's always a preacher, and your character, Thaddeus, has a few levels to him, a few layers.
Yeah.
Firstly, when you played him, did you come across any divine intervention or miracles while you were portraying a preacher?
Well, I must not have done that good a job because God didn't come down and speak to me on that particular shoot.
How would you describe Thaddeus then, the town preacher? He loves his wife, obviously, and he cares for different people, but he also has layers. How would you describe the character?
The West is famous for being a place where you could go and reinvent yourself as a whole new person. If you'd made mistakes, if you'd maybe done some things you're not proud of, or if you just want a clean break, a man could go west, my son, and reinvent their whole being as the person that they want to be, and then along the way be challenged to be the person that you want to be. Thaddeus is a man who's done exactly that. He's escaped a past that he wasn't proud of, and he's reinvented himself as a preacher in this town, and he believes it. He's a decent human being at heart. He's married a beautiful woman who has no idea who Thaddeus was before this new life. And you know, with the arrival of the outsider, the stranger, Thaddeus is challenged and his wife, they're both challenged in a way that they challenges their relationship and confronts Thaddeus with his past. And the question is, you know, will his wife be able to accept Thaddeus, knowing now who he truly is?
Did you invent a backstory for Thaddeus, or was it all in the script? Did you have an idea of where he came from, or was it all on the script?
That's you know, you as an actor, you want to do some private work and create the specifics of the story that you're inhabiting, but that's personal stuff that doesn't need to be discussed. But there's certainly a you know, it's all there in the story.
What was the biggest challenge of Murder at Yellowstone City? Was it the weather? Was there bugs? Did you have an injury?
Well,
any challenges?
The biggest challenge was leaving Montana. Nobody wanted to go home. It was in the middle of the pandemic. We were out there isolated from society. Everybody lived close to the set, and we didn't have interactions with very many people outside of the community that we created there at Yellowstone City. And everybody had such a great time, you know, riding horses and playing cowboys and doing what we do best. That I don't think anybody was particularly looking forward to the show being over. Do
you think in the future, moving forward, for safety aspects, they'll ever replace prop guns with CGI guns? Or,
you know, we've been making movies for 100 years.
Yeah,
most of them have a gun in there somewhere. We have had, I mean, if you look at the percentage of problems that we've had with guns, it's 0.0000001. Okay. And that's pretty close to the real number. It's so rare, you know, we deal with professionals. Everybody, gun safety is always everyone's main concern when there's a gun on set, when it's gun day. Training involved, the professionals involved. We do a pretty damn good job. I know I would give us very high marks for gun safety, gun respect, professionalism. So no, I mean, I certainly hope not. I hope we don't end up with a society that is so afraid of the tools of society that we ban them from society. I think that would be a tragic mistake.
Have you got any all-time favorite Westerns, maybe classics?
Absolutely.
Could you name a couple for me, or other than your one, Murder?
I guess it would start with Stagecoach in 1939, the John Ford, John Wayne version. Then you've got the Bud Bedeker's Roanan series of films. That is, there's three or four of them, but those are excellent. Bud Bedeker Westerns, just Google
Okay.
that, especially 7 Men from Now. That's a great film. Then you got the films of Anthony Mann, who is known for his film noir in the 40s and 50s, but also did some really terrific Westerns with Jimmy Stewart and others. You got The Searchers, also John Ford. You got The Wild Bunch. You got The Professionals with Lee Marvin. That's a great movie. There's Johnny Guitar. There's Duel in the Sun.
Quite a list.
Grit. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Gabriel Byrne, like, honestly, you mentioned him earlier. You've worked with some amazing actors. How was he on set? Did you connect and have the chemistry on like you did on screen?
Gabriel's a real pro. I love the Irish brogue. He's a actor's actor. You know,
Yeah.
You show up prepared when you're ready to work with Gabriel. You know, I loved watching him work. I love watching the old veterans and their different working styles and the way that they attack a scene and approach the shooting of the scene. I love the vets. You know, Richard Dreyfuss is another one where he had
fantastic, of course. Yeah, they make the film along with yourself. How has Hollywood changed in general? You've been acting for 30, 40 years almost.
Yeah.
Do you think Hollywood's changed for the better, or are you enjoying the way it's turned into the streaming services now more than the cinematic experience? Because this movie is very cinematic.
Yeah, thank you. It's good and bad. You know, we tend to reach a larger audience with the streaming stuff. It's a shame that we can't have smaller movies in the theater. It seems like all the movies in the theater now are giant blockbusters. They're tentpole movies. They're circus events, right? Part of that is because the tickets aren't cheap anymore. The audience has better equipment at home, you know, and so I miss the theatrical experience. But I do like the idea that you can get a smaller movie made that's perhaps a little quirkier, and have it find success at home on a streamer. So, you know, there's always a good and bad. I'm not a huge fan of digital cameras. I love film, but the cameras are getting so good now that you can actually get pretty darn close to an approximation of film camera with digital today. So, you know, there's a give and take. I remember Francis Ford Coppola saying, you know, it's the death of cinema when everybody's watching Lawrence of Arabia on their iPhone. That's bad. And unfortunately, that's sort of what the world's turned into a little bit. So I want to support smaller theaters coming out with some independent films again. You know, I really hope to get back to that.
Okay, to wrap it up, I know my time is limited. You were in one of my favorite independent movies of all time, Thursday, with Mickey Rourke. And you also starred with Mickey in Kill Shot. I do another podcast about Mickey Rourke movies. What can you tell me about working with the man himself?
Well, Mickey
is he a friend?
Mickey's been one of my favorite actors. Really have appreciated him since I was a teenager. And I saw him in movies like Year of the Dragon and the Bukowski. What was the Bukowski?
Barfly.
Oh my God. Just brilliant actor. So many ups and downs in his career. Really respect the tenacity that he's had and the way he's been able to bounce back from tragedy. I've got to know Mickey. You know, I've actually worked with him 3 times. The other time was on The Thin Red Line.
Yeah, I remember.
Mickey actually didn't make it into the movie. He got cut out, but he had these wonderful monologues in the middle of the jungle. We were in the Solomon Islands, and I flew with Mickey from Los Angeles all the way to the Solomon Islands, which I think was about 4 airplanes. And I ended up kind of taking care of him. Mickey hated to fly. He had a fear of flying. So I ended up sort of looking after him and making sure that he got to the passport control place and on the plane, you know. And so it was like a running monologue with Mickey. told me his whole life story on this 20-hour plane ride that we had. That took a day and a half to get there, because it was all me and Mickey. We were like adventurers going to the other side of the planet together. And I'll never forget that. You know, he told me his life story, and I told him some of mine, and we bonded over that and seen each other, were friendly with each other over the years. He's one of the greats.
Well, Thursday is one of the greats. Thank you for your time. Murder at Yellowstone City. I'm sure Mr. Jane is going to do well, and it's an absolute honour to chat to you. And welcome back to the country when you arrive for Troppo.
I look forward to it, pal. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Hope to see you again. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.